Have you ever noticed how some tiny words in English do all the heavy lifting? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on the real unsung heroes of English grammar, auxiliary verbs. Honestly, mastering these is one of the biggest secrets to making your English sound completely natural. Okay, let's jump right in.
So here's our game plan. First up, we're going to look at a strange little problem that main verbs have. Then we'll introduce the special team of verbs that comes to the rescue. After that, we'll zoom in on the superstar of that team, the verb do, and its unique superpower. We'll also figure out when do is needed and when it can just take a break. And finally, you guessed it, it's your turn to practice.
All right, so let's set the stage. Our story begins with the main verb, the star of the sentence, facing a really specific and kind of frustrating problem all on its own.
Okay, look at this question. Laughs he? I mean, it sounds like something out of a Shakespeare play, right? And sure, this was perfectly normal hundreds of years ago, but if you said it today, it would just sound wrong. The big question is, why? That's the puzzle we're going to solve.
Now you have to understand, in its comfort zone, just a simple positive statement, the main verb is totally fine. He laughs, she sings, they study. No issues there at all. It's clear, it's direct, it works.
But the moment we try to make that sentence negative or turn it into a question using only the main verb, the whole thing falls apart. He laughs not? Laughs he? To our modern ears, that just doesn't fly. The main verb, as important as it is, just can't do these jobs by itself anymore. It needs some backup.
And this is where our heroes make their grand entrance. We're talking about auxiliary verbs. Think of them as helping verbs that exist for one reason, to give our main verbs some much-needed grammatical support.
So here's the key thing to remember. An auxiliary verb isn't describing the main action. Its job is to add all the extra grammatical information, like the tense, when it happened, or the mood of the sentence.
And here's the team. We've got our primary auxiliaries, be, do, and have. Then you have the modal auxiliaries, which you probably know, words like will, can, and must. But for today, we're going to put the spotlight on the absolute superstar of this group, do.
You see, the verb do has this amazing superpower that linguists call do support. Basically, whenever a sentence doesn't have another helping verb, do just parachutes in to save the day. It's sometimes called a dummy auxiliary because it doesn't really add meaning, just grammatical structure.
So check this out. This is how we solve our first problem. In modern English, the word not can't just float around. It has to attach to a helping verb. Since laughs is a main verb, do steps in, as does, to give not a place to hook onto. And notice what happens to laugh. It goes back to its simple base form, because does is now doing all the work of showing the tense.
And do helps us out with questions too. To ask a question in English, we often have to flip the subject and the auxiliary verb. A main verb like knows can't make that move on its own. So again, do steps in. Does moves to the front of the sentence, and just like before, know goes right back to its basic form. Simple.
And there's a third really cool use for do, emphasis. Let's say you want to disagree with someone or just strongly state a fact. You can pop in do or does and really stress it with your voice. No, he does sing. It's like underlining the verb out loud. It makes your point crystal clear.
But hey, a good hero also knows when to stay on the sidelines. And do support has one simple golden rule. If there's already another auxiliary verb in the sentence, do is not needed.
And this shows it perfectly. On the left, the sentence already has the auxiliary verb will, so will is strong enough to form the question all by itself. But on the right, the verb laughs is all alone, so it needs do to swoop in for support. The rule is just that simple. You only need one helper.
Okay, enough of me talking. It's time to see what you've learned. Let's run through a couple of quick practice questions. You ready? All right, here's the first one. She blank gone to school. Should you use do, has, or have? Take a second and think about it.
And the answer is has. So why not do? Well, the main verb here is gone, which is a past participle. That verb form tells us we're in the present perfect tense, which is always made with have or has. And since has is already an auxiliary verb, no do is needed.
Okay, ready for another one? Blank. The doctor go to the hospital yesterday. Your choices are do, did, or does. What's it gonna be?
The correct answer is did. The big clue here is the word yesterday, which tells us this all happened in the past. So to ask a question about the past with a main verb like go, you need the past tense form of our helper do, which is of course did.
And now for our final puzzle, and this one's a bit of a brain teaser. We know do is an amazing helping verb, but do can also be a main verb itself, right? Like to do your homework. So what happens when you need both in the very same sentence?
You get a sentence that looks just like this. Why do you do that? I know, it might look a little strange seeing them side by side, but it follows our rules perfectly. That first do is our auxiliary verb, our helper, forming the question. And the second do, that's the main verb, the action. Pretty cool, huh?
So let's do a quick recap. Main verbs just need a little help to form questions and negatives. Do is our go-to dummy auxiliary that steps in to provide that support. We use it for questions, negatives, and for adding emphasis. And remember the golden rule. If another helper like will, can, or is already in the sentence, do gets to take the day off. Seriously, getting this one little concept down is a huge step towards making your English sound totally effortless. So, what other invisible grammar rules do you think make all the difference?